Those of you who have been watching Pittsburgh upsetting Houston, 26-14, we welcome you aboard the Canberg with Bill Walsh. 7-0, Chicago has just scored as the Bears drive 59 yards, 11 plays, Brad Muster a 3-yard run, and now it's Marino from the 30 and Miami. Sammy Smith straight ahead for 5-yard line, 5 yards, 2nd down and 5. Let's go back to the Bear touchdown. Here it is from the 3.
A very curious defensive alignment from the 5-yard line. They're in a 3-4 defense with the 2 linebackers sitting back, and look at these void areas right here in which Brad Muster will just simply attack, lean in, and go right through into the end zone. A very curious defensive call. You see Brad untouched going in from the 5-yard line against a very soft 3-4 defense. I don't think they'll run that one again.
2nd down and 5 for Miami. It's Smith again, and Steve McMichael, Mungo, making the tackle.
Mike McMichael having conceivably his best year if he continues in this vein. With 7 sacks already, and typically, Dick, he's not a pass rusher. He's a great run defender. But this year, and he says maybe Hampton got all the sacks, maybe he's going to get some now. But this year, he's playing a complete game. Excellent pass rush, but dominating the line of scrimmage. And between him and William Perry, you've got a load. Their hips are only about 3 feet off the ground.
Shotgun on 3rd and 5.
Safety.
And it's Jensen with a catch and a 1st down at the Miami 42-yard line. Jim Jensen, cayenne red pepper in his shoes, keeping those puppies warm.
David Tate, number 49, blitz from the outside, was just late getting there. Now you'll see Marino, where there comes Tate right on the backside, but just too late getting there. That's vintage Jensen catching. Not nearly as much of it as he used to do, but once again, a vintage catch. And of course, Tate was firmer. He aligned himself, just didn't get there in time. He's going to have to squeeze it in before the ball snap to make it.
That was the initial 1st down for Miami with 2:45 left in the 1st quarter. A rare run by Marino, who, as a former baseball star in high school, makes a pretty good hook slide at the 50-yard line. Alfred Oglesby, we understand the knee injury is serious and he will not return.
What more can happen to this ball club? Shula's had to battle through the Oferdal thing and any number of minor injuries that have kept people out, including his offensive line. But Oglesby, how can they replace him and still be a playoff team? They just don't have the personnel now to fill in that area.
2nd down and a long 2, almost 3 yards. Beatty, the tight end, resets. Smith into Bears territory, and look at that drive by Smith. He won't go down, and it's almost like a rugby affair as he's down to the 41 on that scrum.
William Perry was on the back side of that. He was trying to grab him and, in a sense, pushing him forward. So he had all that weight going. Oh, look at that weight, by the way. My God. You know, Perry is a good player now. I think that's the best you could say, a good player. Unfortunately, if he had 50 pounds off, he'd be a great player. And that's the unfortunate part for the Bears and for William. He's adequate now and can make a play or two, especially early in the game before he gets fatigued. But without the weight, he's a great player, and they need a great player to take them very far this year.
1st down at the 40 of Chicago. The Dolphins trailing 7-0, final minute, 1st quarter. Out of the backfield to Smith, and Jim Morrissey makes the tackle after a 5-yard gain. Let's check the other scores. The winners today, and what a day. It's incredible that it should come on the 13th week of the NFL season. Raiders, Cleveland, a winner. Upset by New England and upset by Pittsburgh. The Giants now are back in the thick of things at 7-5. Detroit, 8-4. They're still part of the playoff picture, and Green Bay and Indianapolis in a battle of losing teams. Seattle scores early against Denver. Jets jump out to 2 touchdowns against the Chargers, and Philadelphia ahead of Phoenix by 6. Here, 7-0 Chicago. Marino intercepted by Lemuel Stinson. Stinson tackled at the 33 by Tony Page.
What was Mark Clayton thinking? He went down the field and never looked at Marino. It was their favorite pattern between the two of these guys was the slant pass. Now watch Clayton. Look, he's blocking. He didn't have the right assignment. Everybody but Clayton knew where to go. I can't believe it. He's blocking and Marino's throwing.
Stinson's third theft of the year. Like to run it, and they play a stifling defense. Chicago Bears 7-0. These hardy fans, the biggest cheer thus far was just before game time when the public address announcer said the wind chill factor is 4 degrees. And boy, they love the fact that they're out here celebrating. What did you do as a coach from California to fight the wintry climes?
Well, I think, Dick, the key is if the team's well-knit, well put together, and plays with confidence, they'll be fine. We blew the Bears out in '88 in weather much worse than this. But Miami doesn't have that kind of team this year, so the weather can affect them. They're not a complete team. They don't have the balance they typically have, so they're at their mercy in a sense of the weather.
Muster out of the backfield, and he's dragged out of bounds at about the 43-yard line. That'll be very close to a first down.
Well, Muster's healthy now, off a hamstring pull. It occurred in the Raider game in preseason, and it's been a problem until about the last 3 or 4 weeks, and now he's a major factor just when they need him. With Neil Anderson having his problems physically, Muster's picked up that slack.
Not quite close enough for the first down, although I believe they will measure. Perhaps the yardsticks across the way, just the marker, not a true point. Yes, and now indeed they move it back to the 33. And a first down for Chicago. When he beat New Orleans down at the Superdome, that was really an eye-opener for this Chicago team and their fans. That made everyone believe that this could be a very serious playoff team.
And it also proved that Harbaugh can come back and win a game, because Harbaugh had an awful game until the last 5 or 6 minutes, hit 2 or 3 big passes and pull it out for him.
From behind kind of quarterback, Jets fans will attest to that as well. On first down, screen. Well read and a fumble. That could be Miami's ball, and it is, as T.J. Turner falls on it at the Chicago 30-yard line.
I think we'll have to have a replay to find out if he actually had control or possession of the ball. But did they read that screen? Now this is doomed right from the start. Now you see a crossover move by Anderson, then coming out late. But look at the attacking linebackers. Just a beautiful job of coming right up inside by Odom, and he just puts him away. That screen receiver is helpless because he's looking for the ball, trying to work with his blockers. As it developed, he doesn't see the man covering it.
Odom, who's playing in the middle of that Miami defense for the 4-time Pro Bowler John Offerdahl. Offerdahl out for the year with a knee injury, made the hit.
Now there's the review, Dick, because I'm not sure he had it, just to see whether he actually caught the ball and had possession.
And Lapierre had it, took one step and then the tackle, and that's all you have to do is take that first step in possession. Does he have it? There's the catch, there's the step, and then
you'd have to say he had it. You'd have to say he did it. It has to be a good call. I don't think you could overturn that. There it is, and there he loses it. But now there's man-to-man coverage on a screen, and that's the last thing you want, because the defender is attacking the receiver.
The play stands is called.
So no overrule, although the fans here in Chicago waited hopefully. So Miami with a break, trailing 7-0. 14:24 left in the opening half, and that brings the Bear crowd to life. Marino with the win. To Clayton. And the most successful touchdown tandem in NFL history, Marino and Clayton hook up on a gain of 19 to the 11-yard line.
Well, that was the deep end pattern. Clayton will push well up the field and try to get his man to lean back. Brown to lean back, then break it off sharply, and Marino's got the ball in the air by the time Clayton makes that break.
Well, look who came back to make the tackle.
Well, he had to, you're right.
Mike Singletary. Smith. He's toppled and he may have fumbled. Sammy Smith, who has been plagued by fumbles in his 2 years, coughs it up again. Oh, my.
control the ball, and the ball is popped out. He just doesn't protect it. He let the ball be exposed to the shoulder pad of the tackler, so it was bound to pop out of there. You've got to get your pads underneath that ball.
Right. His fumbles gaining notoriety in South Florida 2 times down on the goal line. That cost them a game against Houston and set up a big Kansas City rout. He loses it at the 4 of Chicago today. Anderson breaking tackles and out across the 10. Actually, knee down at the 10-yard line is the call. A gain of 6. Let's go back to the fumble. And what do you mean the shoulder pads have to be under the ball?
Well, Sammy has an inherent problem in the way he handles the ball, Dick. He does not protect it. You'll notice right here, the ball is between him and the tackler. The ball is not protected. Now, if Neil Anderson were doing that, Gale would take a shoulder first, then the ball. But in the case of Sammy Smith, that ball in his left hand, he's left-handed apparently, is exposed all the way through, and we spotted that in that Houston game. The same problem. If he doesn't correct it, he'll always be a fumbler, and it'll show up much more on the goal line because the contact's more intense down there.
Give us to Muster, and he's close to a first down as we check the Dr. Pepper 10-minute ticker. Raiders big. Cleveland, a nice surprise for the Browns fans. And the big story today is the upset of Washington, their first loss of the year by the Cowboys. We'll see Dallas on Thanksgiving Day against Pittsburgh. Is Pittsburgh an upset of their own, knocking off Houston at home?
You know, Dick, each year there's a point in the season, typically about the 12th, 13th week, where some teams are sort of given up for dead. You assume you're going to beat them. They still have some life left in them, and you lose your concentration. It happened to the 49ers. It happened to virtually everybody, and it happened to a number of teams today.
Third down, it's a long one. Whoa, good defense as Mike Reichenbach, submarine number 52, to make the stop. Former Eagle, and it appears that he was able to topple Muster shy of the first down. It is 4th down, and it'll still be almost a yard, and the punting team comes on for the Bears.
You know, those teams that were upset today, 3 or 4 top teams, it didn't hurt them. Washington failed to go undefeated. But in the final analysis, it may very well sober the team up and renew their concentration, as it did with the 49ers in 1984, and as it did with the Bears in 85. That one loss shocked everybody into concentrating that much more.
Whistle blows before the snap. They may have taken too much time, and that'll cost Chicago. Yes, it was. Delay a game.
On Chicago.
So Buford will have to punt from deeper in his own end zone. And Don Shula has used a ploy here on punt returns because of the wind. He's using 2 men back, one at an angle, a short man, Tony Martin, and then Scott Miller back at the 45, trying to prevent that kick that we saw earlier that is short but rolls for 20 yards.
Yeah, the receiving man is really concerned about running very far or catching the ball on the run in this wind. So they let it hit. Then it happens to roll end over end.
This one is short.
Same thing.
Let it roll, and it takes a milder Chicago bounce out to the 45-yard line. 37 yards. And one of the Dolphins dangerously close, Vesty Jackson, to touching the ball. Timeout.
It's it. And
Chicago, nearly 67,000, their usual sellout here along the banks of Lake Michigan. Temperature falling as we're near sunset, and they say tonight's low will be around 15 degrees, and the chill factor will be 4 or 5 below 0. Dan Marino, good field position, good 44 Chicago, trailing 7-0. And a change at running back. Mark Higgs, who leads the Dolphins in rushing with 534 yards and was their running star early in the year before Sammy Smith was able to play. And with that fumble by Smith, perhaps Shula's patience has run short, and Higgs will get his chance now.
Higgs had a great day. Remember the game we did early
opener against Buffalo.
Oh boy, he had a fine game against Buffalo up there. So this guy, 5'7", but quick, strong, gets underneath the tacklers.
195 pounds on that 5'7" frame. 2nd and 9. Marino incomplete. He could feel the pressure coming.
down the field. The Bears are just climbing all over the receivers, and Marino that time wanted to throw it, but he first had to move to avoid the pass rush, and that wrecked the timing of the play.
Mike Singletary, the great Chicago Bear linebacker, and he's part of a tradition, and in fact was featured. This is the cover of the Bears media guide. Leads us to our Xerox Sports Facts. There's Singletary in the foreground. Who are the other three Chicago Bear Hall of Fame linebackers? 66, 61, and 51. 3rd and 9. Going deep and broken up by Mark Carrier, number 20, the second-year man from Southern California.
Carrier from a safety position made a fine break, the free safety position on the ball. This is good free safety play. He's playing through the receiver for the ball. He's not trying to avoid the receiver. He goes right to that ball physically through the receiver. So when we talk about free safeties covering the field, Mark Carrier did a perfect job of taking just the right angle on the throw.
Roby's punt. Waddle at the 10-yard line. Calls for the fair catch, and Chicago will have it at the 10-yard line. And we'll be back with our Xerox Sports Facts answer, but first, this commercial break. Singletary, 4 tackles today. He's 6 away from 100. That would be 9 straight seasons. 100 tackles or more. And now the answer to our Xerox Sports Facts. The other Hall of Famers. Bulldog Turner was 66 and 61, worn by Bill George, and Butkus number 51.
The guy on the right, people say, is maybe the single best defensive player ever to live, 51. Singletary's not far behind.
Don Shula would agree with the Butkus call, wouldn't he? He said yesterday how great Butkus was and coaching against him. The throw to Muster. Tough to bring the big fullback down. Finally, Brian Cox gets him at the 22-yard line.
Muster plays with so much more conviction now than he did earlier in his career. He's just that much more self-assured as he carries the ball. Now he sees tacklers one at a time. He'll step over them. He'll lower his pads into them. He's becoming a complete running back. But to compare him to Rick Caceres, as big a compliment as Mike Ditka can make, because Caceres was one of the great running backs of our time, and a slashing physical runner. But he had more stamina at this point than Muster can give Ditka today.
11 yards on that first down pass play, and it's Neil Anderson hit in the backfield by Cox and then brought down at the 22-yard line. Neil Anderson, despite that hamstring injury, playing today, and many thought, including us, Bill, that he wouldn't see action today. They'd wait till it was warm, the indoor game on Thanksgiving Day against the Lions.
Well, he just demanded to play, and Ditka respects that. And he demonstrated in practice that he could do these things, but I'm sure he won't play the entire game. In fact, he's coming out right now. They're just going to spot him in and out. They don't want to fatigue that hamstring muscle, or it'll pull again. And of course, the Bears are well aware of that.
So that 3.8 average this year, that's way below his career average. He's always been 4.1 or much higher. Harbaugh has to unload. Should be a penalty. No, they're not going to call it on Griggs. He was all over Wendell Davis. And he's saying that was Davis pushing him.
He thinks Davis shoved him at the last minute. And there was some exchange there right in the middle of the picture. You see the shove? Nice job. Davis does a nice job just sort of straight arming Griggs away from him. I wouldn't call that either way. There wasn't a foul. But I can see why a guy would be upset with that arm coming out.
So it'll be 3rd down and 10.
Now, Griggs is between Cox and Griggs, outside linebackers. Don Shula thinks he's got the size and the strength you need to play in the National Football League, and his team typically hasn't had that girth defensively.
Give to Muster. Brought down at the 27-yard line, and a flag is down. And it was thrown right near John Wojciechowski in the backfield of the Bears.
Down by Oliver. There is a flag on the play.
Personal foul clipping.
Boy.
And playing into the wind, I would think that Don Shula will take this penalty.
Wojciechowski apparently was the guy was part of that foul. Now here's an interesting. He played on the strike team for Chicago back during the '87 season. You see number 73 clipping from behind, right? He's out of the so-called tackle blocks, and in that area, you just can't clip, and that's a dangerous block for the guy being blocked, obviously.
Ball, clipping, number 73, penalty decline.
Wow, they decline it, even though Buford is kicking into the wind. Don Shula not wanting to take any chances on a third and long, wants the ball.
That was Dick Stanfield talking to Wojciechowski. Now, Dick Stanfield, one of the great players as an offensive guard, and one of the finest offensive line coaches in the league, one of the 2 or 3 best.
Boy, that wind really blowing. That's going to be a penalty on Maurice Douglas as the fair catch by Scott Miller. Miller clearly calling fair catch, and Douglas apparently didn't see it. Well, we hope Buell, as they sort it out, will be with us on Thanksgiving Day. The late game of the traditional doubleheader will be at Texas Stadium. And in the pregame at 3:30, Hall of Fame coach Tom Landry and Will McDonough, they'll visit in Landry's home. Boy, so much to talk about with one of the great coaches of all time. And then, well, Troy Aikman there, but we understand Aikman, a knee injury today. Steve Berline, the former Raider, finished up that upset of the Washington Redskins. We'll see the Cowboys and the Steelers. A great tradition of the 1970s. We'll have comments from some of the star players of that Steel Curtain teams and of the Dallas Cowboys, Starbuck and Company on our pregame show. Don Shula not at all happy about that. 7:46 timeout remaining first half. Apparently, the ruling is an invalid fair catch signal against Miami. Miller appeared to give a valid, but perhaps the other man, Tony Martin, also gave one. And then running into the receiver or the returner against Douglas, so they negate one another.
Let's take a look. Oh, that's a good enough signal. That's fine. Now, what would be the problem there? And there's the hit. There's a foul on Chicago. Oh, yeah, there was a fine signal there. What more can you do? Get on a stepladder?
He always did protect those kick returners, I'll tell you.
Oh, that was ridiculous. What could they have not seen there?
A day of upsets and a day of upsetting news for NFL quarterbacks. Jeff Hostetler injured, Troy Aikman injured, and now San Diego's young quarterback John Freeze leaving the game against the Jets with an ankle injury. On first down, it's little Mark Higgs, and he runs into the umpire and still picks up a first down at the 50-yard line. Wolford made the tackle after a 12-yard gain.
The play didn't look like it had a chance, but Higgs found a way to slip between people and then break back to his right away from the pursuit. But you see William Perry coming up the field and taking the wrong side of the block, McMichael being walled out, and the only problem for Higgs was the umpire, as you point out, Dick. We might have got a little more out of it.
Gordon Wells getting an assist on that? First down at midfield, 7-0 Chicago, midpoint of the second quarter. Higgs again. Nothing at all on the right side. Sean Roper, 55. Sean Gale, 23, coming up to support, along with Trace Armstrong, 93. Armstrong, 93, in the questionnaire asked by the Bears PR people, he was asked, what's the best feeling about being a Bear? He said, oh, that's easy. He said, you get to sleep all winter and fish with your hands.
I'll tell you, he's a fine run defender. Here's another guy that's been out with a knee problem and is just coming back just the time they need it.
Second and long for Marino. Underneath to Tony Page. He's to the 40. That'll be very close to a first down as we check the Dr. Pepper 10-minute ticker. This is verification. Well, we won't show you all the early scores of all the upsets today. Seattle still leading by a field goal. Jets by 14-3 against the Chargers. In the other late game, Philadelphia beating Phoenix down in Arizona.
The Jets are still going to make it. I'll tell you. I think I agree with O.J. Rarely do I agree with O.J. But in this case, I do. I think they're going to make the playoffs, and Kozlik's done an excellent job, and Steinberg, both the general manager, and bringing that club back, making them competitive.
I guess Bill Parcells doesn't actually believe O.J. and the Jets, and I understand O.J. is going to drag him right by the hand and take him right out to the Jets practice field. And then next Sunday, we'll see the results of that as he tries to offer immediate evidence of the Jets' abilities.
Well, it's a very dramatic meeting they'll have.
It's third down.
I wonder if they do that by the episode, you know.
Well, you never know.
First, from week to week, another chapter.
So on third and short, remember Remember, Marino, trailing 7-0, has the wind at his back.
Goal line defense by Chicago. Everybody up with Singletary ready to scrape into the hole.
And Higgs trying to vault over the top, doesn't make it.
Just too much to ask that offensive line of the Dolphins to take on that group with Perry and McMichael inside and Singletary scraping into the hole. It didn't even get started. Trace Armstrong did a fine job.
No gain, so it's 4th and inches, and Don Shula says go for it. Look at Higgs just riding up on the wave of tacklers for Chicago.
You got to think that Marino's going to hand the ball off to the outside and not go take that middle again.
Sammy Smith in there, but they give it to Page, and Page, it'll depend on the market. It looks as if they're going to spot it inside the 40, and that would be a first down.
The ball carrier.
Well, he ran the right play. They didn't take on the 2 inside guys, but believe me, they barely made it.
So Page, the veteran from Virginia Tech, who has already carried twice, and that's almost a half a season for him, a man who rushed but 4 times prior to this game, being used as a blocker and as a receiver.
He's really what an asset to this team. When Detroit gave him up, we call that, Dick, a couple of years ago, I couldn't believe it. Page is a fine blocker, but more than anything else, he's an excellent leader. Good, solid, sound football player.
Trailing 7-0 with 4:17 left in the half. Marino, all kinds of room to run, and slides in at the 32-yard line, and a flag goes down.
We might have had a hold on the outside. We might have had a hold on the by Duper. Looked as though he tried to hook his man. Oh boy, he did.
That takes away an 8-yard scramble by Marino. Yards tough enough to buy when Marino's on the road.
Well, Mark Duper was on the wrong side of the defender, and he still tried to get the block done. He wanted to do what he could for Marino.
Number 85, 10-yard penalty from the spot.
So from the spot of the foul.
Now you see, Dick, Duper's on the wrong side of the block. Now he's going to have to try to get over and get in the head, and he can't do anything but, oh, gee, I don't know how you call that. There wasn't any contact. He didn't.
Well, he had his hands on him briefly.
Oh, his hands were across the back, but if you look around the field, you'll see that virtually every player is doing that every play.
So on the penalty mark from the foul, it's 2nd and 12. 1st and 12. First down 12. Marino complete to Clayton, and Clayton has the first down at the Chicago 23-yard line.
Well, that's vintage Marino. A beautiful shot down the field, well timed. The ball was in the air before the receiver had even planted his foot. And that's the timing that you're always looking for on those deep outs. Now look at this, ball's in the air, and it's partway there, and now the break is being made. A beautiful job, and of course these 2 guys, Clayton and Marino, are maybe the 2 best of all time, at least related to what they've accomplished. Right.
Came in together as rookies in '83. Clayton, an 8th-round pick out of Louisville, and of course Marino, part of that great class of quarterbacks, 1st-round picks in '83.
It's a blitz.
Boy, just got the handoff off to Higgins. John Roper was tackling Marino as Marino handed off.
Well, Roper timed his blitz. The ball was snapped, and he had a full head of steam up. So he split that gap between guard and center, and you'll see him come right through here and really untouched. He beat the blockers to the point of attack.
And then McMichael was there to greet Higgs for a loss at the 26-yard line.
What the heat is on Dan Marino, because with this injury-ridden offensive line, Dan's going to have to carry the team, and he doesn't get the protection he once did. So it's up to him to make the plays.
Sammy Smith is in the game. Marino has to run, tell him the play. He just came in for Higgs. Marino down the middle and overshoots Mark Duper. 2:07 remaining in the half from Chicago. We go to New York and NFL Live.
All right, Dick, the 8-3 Broncos at Seattle. Seahawks 5-6. Dave Craig from the spread formation will find Jeff Chadwick after dallying around a little bit. trying to find the receiver. He does at the back of the end zone. 4-yard TD. Seattle jumps in front early in the second. 10-0. Back to Soldier Field.
All right, Bob, and another potential upset in the making. 3rd and 12, Miami.
Now the Bears have got 3 linemen and 8 defensive backs in the ball game.
Call this their penny. Marino dumps it off to Jensen. A good catch by Jensen, who then is drilled by Sean Gale and by John Mangum, number 26, as the clock runs down to the 2-minute timeout. When we come back, it'll be 4th and about 4, Miami. Go in the half, and Miami setting up for a field goal. We remind you that at the conclusion of today's game, we'll be presenting the Avis We Try Harder Award, given to the game's most valuable player. Pete Stoyanovich out of Scott Sekul's hold, just outside the 25, so a 35-yard attempt to get Miami on the board. Hit solidly right down the center by one of the top placement kickers in the game, Stoyanovich. He's missed only 8 the last 2 years. 7-3 Chicago. So the Bears lead cut to 4. Almost a full 2 minutes left, and Chicago with all 3 of its timeouts as they await the kickoff. As Stoyanovich hitting from 35, which means that this young man from Indiana University is 19 for 23 this year, 21 for 25 last year. So that's 40 for 48 for Stoyanovich, and many of them have been long range. He is solid from 50 and higher.
Well, he had to really drive that field goal against the wind. He kept it low and just took the ball right into the wind, and the driving kind of a kick. So he really got touch with what he does with the ball.
Anthony Morgan, the speedster, a rookie from Tennessee, and Dennis Gentry, the veteran, are deep for Chicago. It's to Gentry. To the 20, and Chris Green, who played at Illinois, a rookie, makes the tackle. Well, a whole new lineup on Sunday night. Why don't you sample it? I think you'll enjoy the Torkelsons. A full hour at 7 o'clock, 6 Central. Then the country is hotter than ever. Country superstars Clint Black, K.T. Osland, Alabama, Kenny Rogers, Doug Stone host the premiere of NBC's Hot Country Nights. A 1-hour country music extravaganza, followed by a provocative NBC world premiere movie, Deception, a Mother's Secret. That's tonight on NBC. Air start from the 22. Harbaugh, shotgun. Former Michigan All-America off to Muster, who is drilled. That's the second time that play has not worked. This time Mike Reichenbach smelled it and made a big hit.
Well, Miami was in a 3-man line. It looked like a deep prevent zone, but they're playing man-to-man. Now watch Reichenbach. He's watching for that screen, and he attacks it. Now that's the job of Harbaugh, to spot man-to-man coverage on that screen. You can't just blindly throw the ball over there.
Loss of 7 on the play. Harbaugh goes a little deeper this time to Davis, and Davis bumped out of bounds by former Bear Vesty Jackson at the 25. It'll be 3rd down and 7.
Now this becomes a critical down, because if the Bears don't make it, Marino's going to have another shot. So this becomes the most critical down of the game so far, because Marino, with one more chance, can get another 3 on the board.
So Michael Keller Ditka and Harbaugh. We asked Mike if he is indeed growing in a more mellow fashion. He said, I've only shouted once all year. That was to Harbaugh, and he shouted back at me. I knew I had a quarterback then. 3rd and 7, plenty of time for Harbaugh. Wide open is Gentry, and Chris Green gets him out of bounds at the 43. 18 yards. No one near Gentry.
Well, they ran 3 receivers to one side of the field, and Miami's that man under defense we talked about, and they ran basically a pick play. You'll see a man come out of it completely uncovered, because Chris Green got caught up in all the traffic to the inside. So Greg Landry upstairs, I'm sure, has adapted to this man-to-man defense that Miami's been playing, has called just the right play.
11 seconds left in the half. Harbaugh again. the ball, and it bounces right back into his arms. Oh, my. It is a Bear day. That ball was free in the air, and as Harbaugh falls, it falls right back in his lap.
Well, the pressure was there just by 3 people. You'll see Cross on a line stunt really force Harbaugh right back into the other 2 guys.
Briggs and Cross putting the pressure on Harbaugh. Give to Mustard. Look at him just work his way through tacklers, and then gets out of bounds at the Miami 39. It doesn't appear he's running that fast, but he's got great power. No one can bring him down.
Well, that's just what Mike Ditka says. That's why he was the #1 pick, to the surprise of a lot of NFL people. They saw that long stride was so deceptive, and once Muster has gotten his confidence, then he begins to really use his abilities. Now, that was Rick Caceres, just the way Rick ran in the early 60s. Same kind of slashing, running with that long, deceptive stride.
Still haven't had to use a timeout. 45 seconds left. Leading 7-3 and trying to build on the lead. Harbaugh hit from behind by Cross, Jeff Cross, and it's ruled a forward pass incomplete. Cross, who was a big pass rusher the last 2 years, had 11.5 last season, the year before 10 to lead Miami, but only 3 this year. He's getting a lot of double teaming.
Wojciechowski just isn't doing that great a job on Cross. There's no question about it. Cross has been a factor even with just 3 men rushing the passer. And that shouldn't be a case. They're going to have to get a guard out of there or something to help to that left side.
Stan Thomas, the rookie from Texas, has come into the line for Wojciechowski.
Just a 3-man pass rush. There's a blitz.
Picked up well. And now the toss to Mustard. And Bobby Harden, replacing the injured Jarvis Williams, comes up from safety to make the stop after just a 4-yard gain. There's a timeout by Chicago. 33 seconds left in the half. The Bears growling with a 7-3 lead.
Now they call it a screen type play against that particular defense.
That was on 3rd and 7, kept this drive alive, and it's reached the Miami 35-yard line. 3rd down and 6. Whoops. There's no play. Whistles blow before the snap as someone charged through. E.J. Jr., the veteran from Alabama. Number 54 and 51, Brian Cox.
There have encroachment. Number 54 on the defense prior to the snap. 5-yard penalty.
Well, every yard counts at this point on the field because a long field goal can be a factor. So you don't want to give those 5 yards up that easily.
Especially to a kicker, Butler, who has a sore hip and is kicking into the wind.
Right.
They'd like to get the ball down at least to the 20. That would be a 37-yard field goal as Butler loosens up.
Just can't get reckless at this point. It's a tight ball game.
3rd and short now for Harbaugh. Give us a Mark Green, the former Notre Dame star, tripped up at the 28. That'll be close to a 1st down. Clock continues to run, and now time called as the Bears will exercise their 2nd timeout. So it's 7-3, and Chicago still in position to get more. Harbaugh deflected and not intercepted. It was almost there as J.B. Brown had the opportunity. Jackson had deflected, Bestie Jackson. And Harbaugh saying one more play. 8 seconds left.
They had their chance, but there's a defender sitting outside to stop it. Oh, gee. That's how close the game can be. But that wind swirling like that, it's really hard to get a judge on a ball that's been batted.
Doesn't appear to be that much wind from the upright.
I think they're going to go for the end zone here, Dick, and hope they've got time left to try a field goal.
Deep down the middle, complete at the 15-yard line. So that'll put Butler in position as Wendell Davis has the catch.
Well, it goes all the way back to that short yardage situation. Miami let bounce to the sideline, and Anderson got out of bounds. Because there wouldn't be a field goal right here if they'd just contained the play.
There's Butler's scorecard on the season. He's missed but 6 times with a long of 50. And this one will be relatively short, although he's kicking into a wind north to northwest. They say at kickoff time 15 to 20 miles an hour. So this one will be around 32 yards.
No, it was critical on that last play that the receiver not run with the ball after the catch unless he could score, because they'd have used the whole clock up along the way. So the ball was caught and the tackle was made, and they got their timeout.
Really a well-engineered drive by Ditka and Greg Landry as offensive coordinator, and executed by Harbaugh. Under 2 minutes to go, and they took over at the 22-yard line. They moved it down to a reasonable field goal attempt here of 32 yards. Harbaugh to hold for Butler. It's good. And that's how the half ends as Chicago gets the 3 back. The favored Bears leading Miami 10-3, and we'll be back after a message from the National Football League and a word from your local station.
I'm Don Shula.
His body is going, the ball's between his body and the tackler's shoulder pads, and it's bound to fly out of there.
Well, wait a minute. Okay, so I'm Sammy Smith. It looked to me like he was trying to protect the ball.
Yeah, he's left-handed,
right?
so the ball apparently, because the ball is always here.
All right.
But when people make contact with Sammy down and close to that goal line, their pads and their helmet make contact with the ball and the helmet and the pads.
So what should I do?
The body. The shoulder should be protected this way. Contact be made this way or this way. You see, but never let somebody's pads
run too erect.
And their pads get under his shoulder pads, and they make contact with the ball, and out it goes.
You hit me once more, and I'm not talking to you again.
Oh, finally taking it out on you. Oh, if you only knew.
So let's go to the halftime statistics. Coors Light statistics which show how even, other than that fumble by Smith, the game has been. Total yards, very little separation there, and possession time the same. A couple of turnovers by Miami, one by Chicago. The Bears building a bit of momentum just before halftime as they pick up the field goal by Butler on a long drive in the final 2 minutes. And for Sammy Smith, one must wonder. He fumbled 8 times last year, 3 critical fumbles this year. The patience of Miami fans is already short. And he's a fine young guy, but he's making such critical mistakes.
Well, it's the same habit, Dick. He's going to have to correct it. But he's very vulnerable to having that ball knocked loose when contact's made. And that's something that can be corrected. So it's not as though it's hopeless.
So to start the second half, the Bears get the ball, and Miami will have the win. Dennis Gentry and Anthony Morgan are deep as Stojanovic resetting the ball on the tee.
Here we go.
And it's for Gentry at the 5. Gentry wiggles out to the 22-yard line, and Harbaugh on the offense comes on the field for Chicago.
Dr. Pepper and your local Dr. Pepper bottler bring you this NFL Game of the Month. Dr. Pepper is just what the doctor ordered.
Oh, the Bears 9-2 at the start, and at this moment, having beaten New Orleans, also 9-2, the Bears have the second best record in the NFC, which would give them the bye in the opening week of the playoffs. A bit ahead of ourselves, but that's the talk here in Chicago. Need a win today on a day when the leaders in the NFL have tasted surprising defeats. Anderson corralled by Vesti Jackson at the 27-yard line.
Now, Vesti Jackson made the tackle, but the problem is, and I'm sure that the Miami defensive coaches would agree, Tom Olivadotti, excuse me, that Vesti's not getting there quick enough, Dick. They're allowing a 5-yard gain before he supports. He's got to get across that line of scrimmage, read the blocking, and get there 5 yards sooner. And that's why the Bears have been able to stretch those toss plays out and then get 5 yards by the time the whistle blows. So corners have got to get there.
I don't know if there's a problem with muster, but James Rouse, number 30, 220-pound second-year man from Arkansas, is at fullback. 2nd and 5. Morgan, the speedster in motion. It's to Anderson. Look at him duck his head as he hits the 30, and he's out close to the 32. That'll be apparently about a half-yard shy of a first down. We're going to be close.
Anderson seems fine. He's really running tough and hard. Of course, instinctively he does. But you don't want to fatigue that hamstring, because if it pulls again, he'll be out another 3 or 4 weeks.
Used a lot of acupuncture apparently through his career for various injuries. And did he get enough for the first down? Ooh, that's going to be close. A link here or there. A link shy.
Short.
Some discussion.
Well, Iowa's Jay Hilgenberg, who knows about small measurements. Hilgenberg, who plays closer to the ball than anyone, is the center. He came out to take a second look. Hilgenberg's, we understand, looking forward to the holidays. Everyone played center, and I'd like to be a part of that tradition where they meet each other and shake between the legs. They shake hands between the legs. What a great player he's been, anchoring that line for the Bears. And Harbaugh just sneaks it ahead and got the necessary yardage for a first down. Mike Ditka in his 10th year. He's wearing 51 years on his back, the number of the great Dick Butkus, surprisingly not retired by the Chicago Bears. In fact, worn today by Jim Morrissey. Morrissey said he couldn't believe it when they gave him that number as a rookie out of Michigan State.
Well, in one sense, Morrissey and Butkus are very much alike. They're both absolutely intense, dedicated players. Now, it may stop there because obviously Butkus was a gifted football player, but Morrissey's the kind of guy that sort of melds the team together. You need people like that on a given team. Not necessarily the great athlete, but the guy that does everything as requested, and the guy that's dedicated to the game, the guy that's always positive and concentrated.
If we asked him, was he surprised when they gave him 51? He said, no, I asked Butkus in that summer camp, do you mind if I wear it? And Butkus, as you might imagine, said, I don't care, but down deep he must be surprised. There have been a lot of retired numbers here in Chicago. Maybe they're just running out of jersey numbers. Perhaps he offended someone back after his career. First down. Harbaugh off play action. And it's caught, but was it in bounds? The ruling is out of bounds, that even though there was contact by the defender, that Brown's tackle didn't force the man out of bounds as Davis
makes the break.
The catch.
It's well covered, and the catch would clearly have been out of bounds unless he'd have been. He couldn't have done it, I don't think, unless he'd have been 6'7".
Well, I don't know. These acrobatic receivers now, the way they're able to have every part of their body out of bounds and yet still drag their toenails.
It's a real art.
I understand that Brad Muster, the reason he's not in there at the start of the second half, a strained left hamstring. He is questionable to return. So the same injury that's plaguing Anderson.
And he's had that throughout the early season. Those injuries, the hamstring pull, the back of the thigh, are the most difficult to read as to when you have fully recovered.
They're reviewing this, apparently. And now they're calling the catch good. The officials on the field have reversed their decision and called it a catch.
Well, it got into the act. Get a good look. All of us can take a good look at it. He's in the air.
Judgment call, and could he have gotten both feet down? The officials say after a second thought, yes. First down from the Bear 45. Anderson juggling the toss from Harbaugh and barely gets back to the line of scrimmage.
Brian Cox just filled right into that hole aggressively. And that's what Miami needs, people just to attack the line of scrimmage when they see the blocking and see the ball. Again, Brian Cox, Don Chula indicates this, again, is the kind of athlete he needs. 6'3", 235 pounds, explosive, quick, first-year guy, got a future. Between him and Griggs, we've got two fine young outside linebackers.
Fifth-round pick, a good one for the Dolphins. 2nd and 9. Harbaugh to Routes, his first carry today, and very little there for the 220-pound ex-Arkansas star. He was an 8th round pick by the Bears last year.
This week, it appears Miami's playing better defense than a week ago, because a week ago they're decimated by the Bills. This week, in all these circumstances, wind chill factor under 10, they're playing much better football than a week ago. So there's still something out there if they can just put it together.
Harbaugh very successful on 3rd down. Needs 9 for a first down here. Look at this scramble. Boy, what a clever run by Harbaugh on the first down. Can't use your blockers any better than that.
Now look at his quick feet. And as Mike Dickus says, there's some Staubach in the way he moves. See the body balance, the quick feet, and when he can do this just once or twice a game, now you've got the Montana, the Staubach kind of athlete, the Bradshaw, that can make the big run, the big play when you need it. And this year, he throws more often when he has to move than a few years ago.
11 yards on that scramble and the first down at the Miami 42. Incomplete and almost intercepted by Louis Oliver. It went through the hands of the tight end, James Thornton, number 80, and Oliver was there, had his hands on a possible 5th interception of the season.
Well, that's a tough throw and tough catch. Harbaugh, a minimal fake. Now he's got to drop it over a defender's head. You see that. And meanwhile, he's looking right at Louis Oliver, 225 pounds of Louis Oliver, to make the big hit. So
Oliver
just couldn't quite connect.
3 times Oliver had his mitts on it. Harbaugh very competitive, almost to a fault, but Ditka's eyes brightened when he told us that story. He likes the spirit of this quarterback. On 2nd down, it's Anderson to the 37-yard line. Mike Reichenbach in on the tackle along with Brian Cox.
You know, the statistics for the Bears have not been that impressive. Even the turnover ratio is a minus, I think -3 coming into the game. But they've scored when they've got inside the 20. Their receivers have caught the ball and not dropped it. There's some very critical areas that have kept them in every game. And, you know, they've been behind in, I think it was 8 games this year initially, and come back to win. So aside from statistics, it's being competitive, and that's what they possess.
9 wins, and only Buffalo and Washington have beaten the Bears. Catch by Waddle right at the yardsticks. First down. Oh, he just doesn't drop anything.
Apparently, he makes catches in practice. In fact, 2 days ago at practice, I watched him dive through the air in practice to make a catch, and Mike Ditka says he doesn't have to do that. And watch him read this and go right up inside for the ball. But here's a 100% dedicated football player. I think he's been waived 3 times by the Bears.
4, actually.
And brought back.
No one wanted him except Chicago. He played at Boston College. Broke Brian Brennan's record there with the Eagles, who almost upset Miami last night. Anderson, little misdirection, doesn't fool the Miami Dolphins. Brian Cox infiltrated and made the tackle for a loss as we check the Hertz 10-minute ticker. Late games. Denver has finally scored at Seattle. Seattle is favored by 3 points in that game, we understand. And the Jets still holding on to the 14-3 lead against the Chargers. And the big upset today in Washington. The Redskins taste their first defeat of the season. Dallas beating them. New England upsets Buffalo. Pittsburgh upsets Houston. Giants hold on 21-14. Detroit and Green Bay are winners. Detroit now 8-4. They host the Bears on Thursday. 2nd and long for Harbaugh. Incomplete through the hands of Wendell Davis as Vesty Jackson was there. It was Thornton, the tight end. That's 2 that have eluded the tight end.
He had too much on the ball. Now Harbaugh used good judgment. I think Greg Landry's coaching really shows up. He moved and threw where a year or 2 ago he had moved and run again. but then he had too much on the ball. As you're running toward the receiver, you've got to take something off the ball because your momentum is carrying the ball that much harder into the receiver.
Long drive for the Bears as Thornton comes out limping. Keith Jennings, acquired during the course of the season, a World League player with the Montreal Machine, is in. That's Wendell Davis. He's got a first down at the Miami 19.
What a nice job of holding that ball to the last instant by Harbaugh. And the touch on that one was beautiful. Just a beautiful job because he had traffic all around him. Well, take a look right at that point where Harbaugh will have all the pressure. Now the man in motion will cross the field, but look at this pressure throwing, just lobbing it up out there to the man in motion who cut back across the field. Now Wendell Davis, not great speed among those receivers, not great speed, but they catch everything that comes to them. Now look at this pressure, right up through inside, and Harbaugh knew he was going to take a shot.
There's E.J. Jr. Now it's Anderson on first down. Twisting to the 16-yard line, and on this drive that started the second half, which now has consumed over 7 minutes, the Bears on third down are 4 for 4.
Well, this style of offense that, as I say, some people don't think is enlightened or something, is methodical. You use the clock, and you mix up the pass and the run, a lot of diversified kinds of runs, so nobody can zero in on any of them, and then you execute. The Bear receivers catch everything that they have a chance with, and Harbaugh's poise. This is why they've got this win-loss record.
Bears 10, Dolphins 3, second down. Call it 8. Harbaugh moves 2 men, holds on, throws incomplete. He might have crossed the line of scrimmage, very close, and then overshoots in the end zone his intended receiver, Neil Anderson. Or is that Rouse? James Rouse was deep.
Rouse was open, but by that time, Harbaugh just can't see the field. And by now, he's escaping for his life, and then he spots him in the end zone. But once you've run, the key, Dick, to this, for the viewer, the quarterback enthusiast, is that as he runs, just before he throws the ball, he's got to relax, then throw. Because all the muscles are tightened up as you run and then throw. And it typically goes over the receiver's head.
Another third down call for the Bears, who have made all 4 on this drive. Almost a quarterback draw. Harbaugh to the 7-yard line. First down.
Rushers on the inside took an outside pass rush and left Harbaugh a big hole right up the middle. But look at those quick feet. You always want a quarterback that can move and make the play spontaneously.
He's a big man, 6'3" and 220. First and goal, Chicago.
And you know, he didn't get these kind of cheers at one point early on. They didn't think he could do it. They were wondering about the draft choice.
When they picked him, they had McMahon here and Doug Flutie and Mike Tomczak.
Yep.
17th play of this drive. Anderson. Just inside the 5-yard line. Bobby Harden came up to assist David Griggs.
Well, Ditka had to look at a lot of quarterbacks before he finally picked his man. Look at that group.
In his 10 years, from Avellini through Lish and Flutie to Harbaugh.
I see a Greg Landry in there, who was a fine quarterback in his day. McMahon. But my guess is, or my feeling is, Harbaugh is going to clearly be the best of that group of quarterbacks. And he'll be that way for, be at the top of his game for 10 years because he's big and he's sound physically.
Second and goal from the 4.
It's that 3-4 defense again.
And it's Anderson right up the middle. And he smothered it about the 2-yard line as Reichenbach was in there first.
Well, if they can see that defense again from upstairs, I'm sure they'll run a quick-hitting play right up the middle. They've got a big void over the guard positions if they stay in that 3-4 defense. Now, Greg Landry now is looking for the substitution, seeing it coming in from across the field to decide what play to run.
They go to 3 tight ends, Thornton Jennings and number 75, Ron Mattis. A tackle acquired from the Jets, a former Seattle Seahawk, is an eligible receiver. He's on the left side, 75 Mattis.
Now, Miami's in their goal line defense. It's Anderson. Hit
well at the 1-yard line and dropped. It looked as if he was going to go in. A solid tackle. Cliff Odom, number 93, submarining for the
Odom filled that hole. He got there. He was across the line of scrimmage before the ball carrier got there.
4th and goal from outside the 1-yard line. And with a 7-point lead, Ditka wants to make sure he gets something and have more than a touchdown advantage.
Oh, sure. Now, you wouldn't even think of anything here other than 3 points.
It'll be a 19-yard attempt by Kevin Butler. He kicked one at the end of the half from 32. And the Bears have a 10-point lead. And they've used up almost the entire 3rd quarter, getting an 11-minute drive.
Gotta be kidding.
Kickoff is short and covered by one of the up men, a linebacker for, no, it was Dellenbach, an offensive lineman, falls on it at about the 33-yard line. 13-3, the Bears.
Nice shot.
Thanks. Wouldn't that be great?
Darling, after 10 years, the only thing I'd change about you is your clothes.
Bugle boy.
Why don't you try this one on first?
For 75 years, Mitsubishi Motors' diamond emblem has symbolized its unbending standard of quality. Introducing the highest expression of that standard, the Diamante, where meticulous design and craftsmanship lead to extraordinary comfort and driving pleasure. Diamante, the new luxury performance sedan from Mitsubishi. The word is getting around.
The official airline.
Dan Marino, and that productive drive by Chicago, 20 plays, 11 minutes, not only took away almost all of the quarter and the wind advantage for Marino, but kept the offense on the sidelines freezing for some 20-25 minutes. And they got 3 points to boot. And Harbaugh having a solid game again.
Well, Dan's going to have to hit a couple of good strikes to get him back in it.
Trailing 13-3. Marino to Duper. That's Mark Duper's first catch of the game, and it's a first down at the Chicago 49.
Few people can throw the ball like that. A play fake help hold linebackers just for an instant, but this is a matter of timing, bursting up the field, and that ball is going to be thrown high up into the shoulders. You don't want that ball to be dying down around the knees. Catch it right up into the body. And these guys have done that so many times. And he's going to have to get 4 or 5 of those more, I would think, before the day's over to get back in the game.
Higgs gets outside. Good balance by Mark Higgs to the 39-yard line. So Higgs, not Sammy Smith, starting the second half. The late scores on our Hertz 10-minute ticker. Still Seattle by 6. The Jets now by 2 touchdowns. And Phoenix closes the gap on the Eagles, all in the 3rd quarter. Here 13-3, Chicago.
It's getting colder, no question about that.
And a cold day for Sammy Smith, who's fumbled inside the 5-yard line. Cost Miami again. Tony Page. And Page barrels inside the 35 for a Miami first down with 2:29 left in the 3rd period. Mark Carrier came up from his safety spot to make the tackle.
The plays that have worked best really are the ball carrier breaking away from the hole and the defenders reacting to the blocking and the ball carrier basically bouncing outside, and that's what's been working for Miami. The Bear defenders are clogging that middle, playing off the blockers, and then when the Miami runner bounces, there's just a little room just outside the tight end position or outside the weak tackle position. Just enough room.
Marino to Clayton. Was he in bounds? Yes. Ruled a catch at the 19.
Ruled a catch, Dick. That was a beautiful pattern by Clayton. He started up the field, low, then burst and broke. Just beautifully done.
And it appeared he did a little stutter step before the right foot trickled onto the sidelines.
But he lulled, then burst like it was a deep go pattern, then stopped and broke out. Now that's your skilled, polished receiver.
Now they're going to review it. That stops the clock with 1:38 left. Here's a closer look.
Is ruled a catch on the field. It is being reviewed.
Right there. Yeah, it's so hard from that angle to see if that right foot scraped the grass before he stepped on the line.
If that right toe had been in, we'd have been all right.
Left foot's definitely down. Yeah, it does. Well,
there's the right toe. If it were in just by, you know.
But did he scrape it before he landed full weight on it? That's something that the review officials, is that irrefutable evidence? We'll soon learn. Well, we'll learn. It's not always quick.
I bet they have a heater in their booth.
Meanwhile, Marino trying to keep warm. And while we have a chance, that'll give us an opportunity for our Xerox Sports Facts in the second half. Who was the last Dolphin to start at quarterback other than Dan Marino? You know, he's got a 120-game streak, longest by far of active quarterbacks. That does not include the strike games. 120 in a row. Merit to not only Marino's ability, but to his welfare. Who's the last Miami quarterback other than Marino to start a game for the Dolphins?
Oh, I'm not going to say. I think I know.
And the answer is Don Struck.
Ooh, good, I didn't say who I thought it was.
Who'd you have?
Huh?
Bernie Mazzola?
Yeah.
83. That's quite a run for Marino since his rookie year. Now they're still looking. Here's another angle.
I'd give it to him. Gosh.
It's a reversal. You'd never get a job in that booth.
Just give it to him. I mean, it's so close. Why would you reverse that?
Well, I just didn't see the irrefutable evidence.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell if he scraped his foot or not from our pictures, but...
You can go on and on with that if you're down to the quarter of an inch.
Well, Dan Marino and Clayton understandably in disbelief. So no first down. They're going to have to reset the chains now. And it'll be 2nd and 10, I believe. They haven't moved the yardstick yet. And the down marker still says first, now 2nd. Through the hands of Clayton, who slipped. The ball was behind him. He was open. So 3rd and 10.
That was the same basic pattern, and Marino had to move just a little bit. He was off balance when he threw it. It was behind Clayton. Still got room for it, but the ball can't get there. He just can't get back to it.
Clayton, Don Shula sang in the 8th round in '83, said they're just looking for a nice warm body. You know, everyone talked about his athleticism. He wasn't big and he wasn't fast, Clayton, but a great athlete, and he's working close to 500 career catches. Marino guns it complete to Duper. That's going to be close to a first down. And they mark progress.
Can he get that ball there? Right in this wind swirling like this, and he just drills that ball. Just drills it, and the ball just doesn't lose any of its velocity when it gets there. It carries to the opponent.
Well, Don Shula, who started as just a youngster when he coached the Baltimore Colts, and through his years, 60s, 70s, and 80s, what quarterbacks? Johnny Unitas and Bob Greasy and Dan Marino. Oh, my. On first down, they pick up the blitz, and wide open is Duper. Stinson wrestles him out of bounds inside the 10, close to the 7.
I think it was Tony Page inside as a pass protector that did the protection job on a blitzing linebacker that I just caught the end of the play. But you'll see this, and you'll see this block, and just watch the blitzer and the blocker right there. It has to be done right there. Beautiful job.
So 1st and goal for the Dolphins, trailing 13-3, final seconds, 3rd quarter. Off play action, throw to Clayton. And Stimson gets in just inside the 5.
Wolford was all over that play. No question about it.
And that will be the third quarter. The Bears leading 13-3. We return after these messages from your local station.
Monday, while the folks are away, the kids are on their best behavior.
Party machine, this is Will.
Until Belle Biv DeVoe drops by for house party hysteria, Fresh Prince Monday.
The facts speak for themselves. From personal to advanced football.
8th divisional title in 9 years. The dominance of Mike Ditka's Bears, and they lead 13-3 with a quarter to go. But Miami rests second and goal. The ball just inside the 5-yard line as the snow flurries fall and the chill factor 1 above 0. That's Higgs behind Marino. Higgs gets the call, and he's stopped cold. John Roper, number 55. Singletary got a piece of him as well.
Well, Singletary just broke the play up by penetrating, scraping right into the hole from his middle linebacker position, and there was nowhere to go but to stop and avoid him. So when Singletary attacks, everything breaks loose.
The refrigerator, Perry and Singletary. Morrissey come out. Jim Jensen is in. The specialist on third down. Third and goal. Big play. Incomplete. Intended for Freddie Banks and broken up. Solid coverage by Donnell Wolford. Don Shula sends in the field goal unit, trying to stay within a touchdown.
Chicago came with 3 defensive linemen and 8 defensive backs that time. Now, a running quarterback on the quarterback draw or a trap play inside would have had a chance. But he just filled the field with defensive backs. There was nowhere to throw the ball.
So Stoyanovich, a 21-yard field goal attempt. Might be 22, depending on the spot. And the Dolphins and the Bears trade field goals, 13-6 Chicago.
Chug along. Pinstripe suits and high-heel shoes. The daily grind gives them all the blues. Don't work me over, I know what works good. While the best thing.
Some of the video artistry from Soldier Field, Chicago. John Francis, our producer. John Gonzalez, our director, as Pete Stoyanovich kicks it off. 14 minutes, 8 seconds left in the fourth quarter. And Miami has pulled back within a touchdown, 13-6. Dennis Gentry at the 12. And Gentry gets a hole and finally tripped up at the 37-yard line by the kicker, Stoyanovich.
And you'll find that was then. This is now.
Chicago with a reminder, 3:30 Thanksgiving Day. It'll be NFL Live, an exclusive interview with Hall of Famer Tom Landry. Landry with his thoughts after a forced retirement. And then 2 teams with upset wins today. The Cowboys, they knocked off Washington, and the Steelers upset Houston. That's at 4 o'clock Eastern Time, Thanksgiving Day. The Bears with the ball and a touchdown lead. It's Harbaugh into the flat, and Davis tackled immediately at the 44-yard line by Bestie Jackson, a gain of about 6.
Davis complete. Tackled by Jackson. Gain of 7.
Mike Ditka,
45.
who was commercially represented, everything from shaving lotion to ham sandwiches to a restaurant.
On the ride in on the freeway, you've got his picture all over the place.
We welcome those of you who have been watching the New York Jets and San Diego Chargers. The Jets well in the lead there. Here it's 13-6 Chicago ahead of Miami. The Bears ball at their own 44, second down, a short 4. Neil Anderson playing for the first time in a couple of weeks after recovering from a hamstring injury, and that looks to be enough for a first down to the 49-yard line. And the key to this game perhaps will be the opening march of the second half, as the Bears used 20 plays over 11 minutes, all the time Miami sitting on the sidelines with the wind advantage, and the Bears got a field goal out of it and also took the wind aid off Marino's shoulders. And that's what they're trying to do now, chew up the clock and get some more.
And the way I really like the way they mixed their offense between Tom Landry and Dick Stanfield. Great. Tom Landry, did I say?
Greg Landry.
Boy, Greg just went in the Hall of Fame.
Here's Harbaugh, some play action, and eludes the rush. Wide open is Thornton at the 30. And he's down at the 17-yard line, Brian Cox. What a play by Harbaugh.
Well, it's the field presence that Harbaugh's developed to go with his athletic ability. This is a pass where he wants to throw to his right. Now he's chased and moved, and he still has presence to find people. Plus that, the ball is thrown over defenders' heads and drops right into Thornton's hands. Now, we're seeing the development of a great young quarterback.
36 yards on this play.
He's still, now watch the dropping of the ball over the top.
Chuck Klingbeil was the man who almost got Harbaugh before he faded to the sidelines and made that throw. And timeout called by the young quarterback from the University of Michigan. When we return, it's the Bears at the 17 of Miami with a touchdown lead.
When you've got something precious to carry, this is one way to do it. Here's another.
Snowy and icy Chicago, and the late scores on our ITT 10-minute ticker. Well, it's always a battle, the Broncos and the Seahawks, and they're at it again today. And there you see quickly the other scores that certainly feature some major surprises today. First down, Chicago. Harbaugh drills it to Anderson, and he's to the 8-yard line, a pickup of almost 10. I'd like to remind you also, next Saturday on NBC Sports, Grambling State and Southern University at the Superdome in New Orleans, the Bayou Classic. It'll be at 2:30 Eastern Time. That's next Saturday. And that is always a highlight of the collegiate football year in the South. Grambling and Southern, Saturday at 2:30, the Bayou Classic here on NBC.
You know, from a personnel standpoint, the football players in that classic, year in and year out, they produce a lot of future professionals.
First and goal from the 7. Leading 13-6. It's Anderson. Not much there. Good read by Reichenbach and David Griggs, 92. And meanwhile, rookie Stan Thomas of Chicago and Louis Oliver of is it Oliver or Odom? And no, it's a rookie Cox. Brian Cox of Western Illinois is changing holiday wishes.
You know, I tried to make a point a minute ago. I put Greg Landry in Tom Landry's role, but Tom was famous for excellent scheming and play calling, and Greg Landry's done the same kind of thing here at Chicago. Just the change in formation and just the little nuances of the game.
Give this to Anderson, just corralled early, unable to get up to full speed, and the entire center of that Dolphin defense there to meet him. And David Griggs, 92, having a big game. Griggs, whose brother Billy was a tight end in the league for a while. He played at Virginia for the Cavaliers. His favorite book, he says, is the Bible, and he told us his favorite artist is Public Enemy. Now there's a interesting
spectrum across the full spectrum.
He's well diversified, as most of those Cavs are. 3rd and goal. Okay, what do you call here, Bill, from the 7?
One of there's 3 receivers on the right. That's there's a man in motion. The same kind of a pick play that they've run before.
And Harbaugh always flirting with a possible run.
Get rid of it. Get rid of it.
And he runs out of bounds at the 6-yard line. So on 4th down, Kevin Butler will come in to try another short field goal for Chicago.
Miami's playing their best defense of the year. Now, we haven't seen every game. Mike, that's my guess. They're playing good, solid defense against one of the best teams in the league. And in a sense, this is a breakthrough for the Dolphins. They're playing very, very well on defense. Head up, alert. And even if they were to lose this game, there's enough room on that schedule that they can still be a playoff team.
In fact, they feel they could lose 2 of their final 5 and still get in as an 8-8 team. This will be a 24-yard attempt. Oh, bobbled snap, and he missed it. So Harbaugh unable to handle the snap cleanly, and by the time he got it down, Butler hooked it wide left. And don't forget the chill factor here is 1. The snap was good, and Butler had to reset, and by the time he swung the leg through, and Butler with a bad hip anyway misses, so the Dolphins still within a touchdown.
You demand the same things from your car that you demand from your budget.
Nicknames and how they play in weather are certainly appropriate here. There's a correlation. Miami, this is not Dolphin weather. It's about 25, chill factor 1, and Miami's won only once in their history when the temperature has been 28 or colder. And Marino goes to work down 13-6. It's Higgs breaking tackles out to the 25-yard line. 8:33 left here in Chicago. Let's go to New York. Here's Bob Costas.
All right, Dick, once trailing 13-0 at the Kingdome, the Broncos have come back to make a game of it. Mike Kroll slaps this ball away from David Craig, picked up by Warren Powers. He takes it in on the fumble return for the touchdown. Moments later, David Treadwell kicks a field goal. Denver to within 3 now at 13-10. Back to Soldier Field.
All right, Bob, and here 13-6, 2nd down and 5 for Marino and the Dolphins. It's Higgs again, and he finds some more running room up the middle. 1st down at the 33-yard line.
You've got to give a lot of credit to Page, Tony Page, coming in and leading in on Mike Singletary on a lead block. Now, there's 2 guys that are a big load. Now, you'll see 49 on the left. You'll see Singletary. Bam! That's beautiful position by Page. He comes right up underneath, extends his hip, and just lifts Singletary up. And that's the perfect block.
Call him Pollywog. Tony Pickens on 1st down. Images of Monday night against Buffalo when Cornelius Bennett came around the backside and took it out of his hands and scored a Bills touchdown. Very nearly there as Marino sacked for the first time. 18 for the year. That equals the most he's ever been sacked in a season.
A part of that's down the field because, see, Dan can throw the ball and he still isn't throwing it. And so when his timing really wasn't there to throw the ball, he held it and was finally sacked. So combine the coverage and the pass rush to get the job done.
And that was Dent there first, and then the Fridge threw his 370 on him. 2nd and 13. Marino is 4-13 career when he has not thrown a touchdown. He's not thrown one today. Oh, dangerous pass. Broken up by Stinson. That was a step from a touchdown. The other way for Stinson.
Well, they're getting pushed right up inside with McMichael and Perry, but Dent is coming inside in a pass rush mode, and that push is coming right up inside. Trace Armstrong that time was the guy that really forced Dan Marino to move and broke down the timing of the play. So the pressure right up underneath inside is getting right in Marino's face.
Shula goes to 4 wide receivers. Comes Roper on a blitz. The throw incomplete, intercepted. Mark Carrier.
with the ball when it got there. He bounced off a defensive back and wasn't ready. Now Carrier at this point, protect the ball. Be careful. So often a defensive back will intercept the ball and fumble at the end of the play because they're not used to handling the ball. But gee, that was a nice job. The ball thrown prematurely and then an alert
We have an illegal block below the waist on the run back. After the interception, 15 yards, first down.
So they'll take back the yardage by Carrier on the run, but Carrier is in a celebrative mood after 10 interceptions last year as a rookie to lead the NFL. He'd been frustrated this year. That's his first of the season. It doesn't necessarily reflect that he's not playing well. It's just the ball hasn't fallen in his lap, but it did on that occasion. And after the penalty, Bears have it just inside the Miami 45. 6:46 left. 13-6 Chicago. Neil Anderson to the 41-yard line. Hard 4 yards. I want to go back to Marino and his record against the opposition in his great career when he doesn't throw a touchdown pass, which is rare. Only 13 times that's happened in his career. And he's won only 4 times. Actually 17 times, and he's 4-13 in those 17 games when he hasn't thrown a touchdown pass, and he's been shut out thus far today.
Well, he's the bottom line in the entire franchise and has been since the day he flew down there from Pittsburgh.
Harbaugh, good second choice, goes to Rouse. He's hit hard at the 38-yard line. Harbaugh's Bobby Harden from the University of Miami. He was a 12th round pick. He had a bad shoulder as a senior with the Canes and was overlooked. He got healthy, and now they feel that Harden, even with the injury to Jarvis Williams, is going to work himself into that starting lineup.
They didn't lose a step when Jarvis, as fine a player as he is, stepped out. You know, 2 12th round picks in the starting secondary. J.B. Brown also 2 12th round picks. And so they've done a fine job of developing raw talent.
Third down and 3 for the Bears. They've been tough on third down all day. On a blitz, and Harbaugh is able to unload it incomplete. The flag goes down. Are they going to call intentionally grounding?
Well, they have to have done that because Harbaugh, I don't think, can even see a receiver from Brian Cox's inside blitz coming up underneath Jeff Cross and just being totally unblocked.
This youngster from Western Illinois knows the official signals, doesn't he? Well, that takes away the opportunity that
We have intentional grounding on the quarterback, number 4. Also loss of down.
Well, it started with Carrier's return where it appeared they'd certainly get a field goal out of it.
Right up underneath is Brian Cox. Harbaugh was still trying to find somebody right at the last instant, but you'd have to call it a sack.
Bears finally getting an 11th man onto the field. 5:11 left. So Miami will get another opportunity as Maury Buford into punt. Rookie Scott Miller back at the 10. Buford does a good job. Sails one nicely with the help of the wind. Miller lets it go, and it's into the end zone. Touchback at the 20-yard line for Marino and Miami when we return. Well, earlier today, the Buffalo Bills surprised by the New England Patriots 16-13. And in the East, the Jets are winning. They're in second place currently, and they match up if the Jets beat San Diego, and they're 3 touchdowns ahead. They'll be 7-5, and they go at it up at Rich Stadium. That's one of our featured games next Sunday. Cleveland, Indianapolis, Kansas City, Seattle, New England, Denver. Our lineup be with us 12:30 Eastern Time on Sunday. Now it's Miami. Could be their last call. 5 minutes remain as Marino goes to work from the 20. Incomplete through the hands of Tony Page.
Well, now they have to make the catches. Now they have to make the plays. They're not going to get the ball back, Dick, if they lose it here. Chicago's running game will run the clock right down to nothing. You know, you talk about coaching jobs this year. Dick McPherson at New England.
Oh, he's got to get votes for Coach of the Year.
Well, he would have to. He's made that team competitive overnight. Now, I know that the team from the year before, New England, had a number of injuries. People weren't on the field. But the attitude, week after week, they've had frustrating losses, but now they come up with a big win.
He's got everyone on an emotional high. Marino on a roll, throws back, and it's complete. Looked to be the tight end. Mike Singletary wrestles Greg Beatty to the ground at the 30-yard line. Greg Beatty, who was a Stanford star and actually spent some time coaching. Where, in Italy?
Right, Italy. He speaks Italian. Stanford has a overseas campus, a number of them. And so one of the reasons he went to Stanford was to attend an overseas campus, learn to speak Italian through college undergraduate days. When he was over there, he made that extra $1 to keep him there.
In Florence.
In Florence, coaching football in Italian.
Enough for a first down for Miami. 4:10 left in the game. And Marino runs for the sidelines and is out of bounds at the 36-yard line. Just a postscript on Beatty. Of course, Florence, a city of great art, including Michelangelo's famous David. And when married a year ago, took his wife back, and that was the honeymoon site. And he was recalling also that in coaching, you ask him, what's the most difficult thing that in trying to coach Italians who hadn't played football?
Oh, well, yeah, it's making contact and looking at the opponent as you do it. Typically, we want to close our eyes.
And hit with the top of your helmet.
Duck our head. Nobody wants. No, we're not built to run into something.
Because you got to block with your face. That was a tough concept.
You got to keep your eyes open, and that's the essence of the game. And it was tough to try to bring that point to people.
Here's Higgs, and he is tough to tackle. Squirts through a couple of Bears tacklers and may have a first down. Appears he does out at the 42-yard line.
I think Carl Tassett, the running back coach for the Dolphins, has done a fine job with Higgs, just bringing him along. My guess is that Carl will have him in that lineup in the remaining games because he can make people miss at the line of scrimmage. He is very, very quick. And following Page in there, he can make one move and get 4 or 5 yards before they can identify him.
First down at the 42 with 3.5 minutes to go. Marino going long, but over the head of Mark Clayton.
Again, Mark was not going, I don't know what Mark was doing there, to be honest with you. He was going about half speed and not looking back inside. So Marino threw to a receiver that wasn't looking for the ball. Now, that happened earlier in the game. It cost an interception because Clayton was trying to apply a block on a pass play.
So there may be something wrong because Clayton has motioned to the sidelines that he wants to come out.
So there's the signals they give each other something. They're short-circuiting something.
Mark Duper out to the left. Incomplete. Duper, the closest white shirt.
Boy, those balls are going to receivers that don't appear to be looking for the ball.
Marino now 1 for the last 7 as Clayton, his top receiver, returns.
Well, this is it right here.
3:14 to go. The clock stopped on the incomplete pass.
They might as well go to the locker room after this one, the offensive unit. They have to punt the ball to the Bears.
Marino has Jensen with him in the backfield. 4 wide receivers. Richard Dent. He flushed him out, and Steve McMichael gets the sack. McMichael put Marino on the ground, number 76.
Well, they know how to get to Dan Marino. The only way to get to him is right up inside and force him to move and then throw. And when he attempted to do it, McMichael was right there. What a great combination with Dent and Armstrong. Michael Roper, that's pretty good pass rush.
Reggie Roby, short kick, and Waddle fair catches at the 33-yard line. So with 2:49 left, Miami has 3 timeouts remaining, but can they stop the ground game of the Bears? And we remind you, coming up, starting at 7 o'clock Eastern Time, a whole new Sunday night lineup, and we hope you'll be with us this evening to see a 1-hour version of the Torkelstons, who move to Sunday night. That'll be followed by Hot Country Nights, a season premiere of a brand new show, and then Deception, a Mother's Secret starring Steven Weber, all tonight on NBC. 13-6 Chicago as they go for their 10th win.
Look, Dan Marino is really upset on that sideline with the communication apparently of what's going on with his receivers.
James Rouse drilled after he picks up about 2.
We want to take a look at it. This guy is upset. He's mad at something, and it's the coordination. Now people are talking, and he's, man, he is hot. And it is tough because there's critical downs, and the communication with his receivers was misfiring some way. We've seen it all day, 4 or 5 times with key receivers, his veteran guys.
ITT 10-minute ticker. These are the finals. The Raiders, Cleveland, Dallas over Washington, the Skins' first defeat of the year. New England bombing Buffalo, and Pittsburgh upsetting Houston. The Giants are winners. They're 7-5. Detroit goes 8-4 with their victory, in Green Bay, a rarer win for the Packers, their 3rd of the year. On the late game scoreboard, Seattle still ahead at home by 3. The Jets apparently are going to go to 7-5, and Philadelphia beating Phoenix, and the Eagles looking at a possible 7-5, which would give Dallas, Giants, and Philadelphia all 7-5 behind Washington in the East. Well, going back to the communication, so much is just a read. It's not like the old days where you drew the play and you always went the way the play was drawn. It's you're reacting as a receiver to the coverage, and quarterback and receiver hopefully are seeing the same thing.
Well, that's a good part of it, but the other part is we've had receivers not looking for the ball, Dick. That's the strange part.
Tough to catch it then. Harbaugh dumps it off to Anderson, and Anderson wisely doesn't go out of bounds. You can see for a moment he hesitated, and then Vesty Jackson brings him down, and Miami has not called time yet. And now they do at 2:24. It'll be a loss on the play and bring up about a 3rd and 10.
You know, it's never been the same as those glory years for Miami with Cooper Clayton. The fine people they had.
Tony Nathan is at setback, remember?
It hasn't been the same. And Marino, I would think, has gotten better, but whatever that is, it's not the same it once was.
Let's not forget Nat Moore is the 3rd receiver with Clayton and Duper. Well, Thanksgiving Day, Bill and I will be celebrating the holiday with you from Dallas, Texas, and at 3:30 NFL Live will have a key feature on one of the great coaches in the history of this game, Tom Landry. Will McDonough will have an exclusive interview from Landry's home. And then 2 teams that came up with big wins today. Dallas upsetting Washington in Washington, 24-21, even with Troy Aikman injured. Steve Berline taking over, and Pittsburgh at home knocking off the Oilers 26-14, and that's the matchup. Well, that just conjures up images of a great tradition on our traditional holidays. Steelers and Cowboys on Thursday. On 3rd down, Harbaugh gets it away, believe it or not, and Anderson is tackled shy of the 1st down at the 41, but Harbaugh with men all over him.
His presence, he's made the breakthrough as a quarterback, no question about it. You know, Dick, as far as the scheduling is concerned and the standings, all kind of crazy things will happen before this year's over. You watch. We had it all mapped out, everybody did, all the newspapers, who's going to win the division, who the wild card would be. A team like San Francisco can come back now, believe it or not, be a wild card team and still be a major factor. And there are any number of teams like that because the upsets start occurring. The winners start losing concentration, and some people get backed against the wall and come out fighting and make a season of it.
It starts to snow even more heavily. I don't know if the fans here in Chicago are cheering that or the fact they're going to cheer their special teams. They like the weather rough. Scott Miller back at the 15 for Miami. Buford to punt on 4th and 3. He'll deliver from around his own 38. Here's a big chance for Miami as Buford has it blocked and goes toward the end zone. And Miami will have the ball inside the 5-yard line. Oh, my.
Well, the crowd went wild when it really started snowing, And it could very well have been that ball wasn't what it should have been when it was snapped. It went right over the punter's head.
Boy, that took off over
right over
head.
Buford's head, yes. So the weather in this case affected the Bears. It caught up to them.
Mark Logan, 20, was the man who then blocked it back to the 5-yard line, and what an opportunity for Miami.
Now, if they could have advanced that ball, it would be tied right now. I would worry, to be honest with you, Dick, whether they can score from here with that Chicago defense.
2:01 left, so one play before the 2-minute timeout. Well, they did stop the running game of Ditka. They did get another chance, a little better than they might have hoped, on the misfire on the snap from center. Duper to the right. Clayton also to the right, and he was starting left, and Moreno sent him to the other side.
They've got to get some yard. You've got to get half the yards on this down if they run it. They've got to get half of them.
It's to Higgs, and he does get half to the 2-yard line.
Because otherwise, Dick, they'd have had to throw the ball. Now they can run again.
The 2-minute timeout, 1:57 left. The Bears in trouble. The Dolphins without a timeout, but obviously plenty of time. They've got 3 plays from the 2-yard line to try to tie it up. Buford did the best he could. Some might have thought, well, run in the end zone, take a safety, but then you give Miami a chance to win it.
I don't think he could have made it to the end zone. They were all over him.
Moreno to his tight end, Farrell Edmonds. Is he in? Touchdown! Farrell Edmonds just activated last week. He was a holdout, then injured, has played only on special teams and in short yardage, and Edmonds, a great target at 6'6", catches the touchdown throw from Moreno.
The play wasn't there. The play fake didn't work. Edmonds is covered. It takes a real shot by Moreno to get the ball there.
And Gale just late in making an attack.
Just a step away from it. But it took a shot from the angle he threw it. Gale was almost in position to make the interception.
Nothing certain on this snowy field in Chicago. This to tie it. And Stoyanovich delivers. So Chicago on 2 special team errors. Remember, a short field goal try by Kevin Butler went awry when Harbaugh was unable to handle the snap. That would have been a 24-yarder to give the Bears a 10-point lead in this quarter. And now the snap by Hilgenberg over the head of Buford sets up a 4-yard drive. Let's go back to the bad snap. So crucial now.
Well, it sails over Buford's head, and it's way out there. Now, if he'd had presence of mind, he might have turned and run for the end zone, but they were going to be right on top of it. That was a tight play, and that would be a tough one unless he was thinking about it before the ball was snapped. What he'd instinctively do, I don't think typically a punter would run for his own end zone.
On our ticker, the other scores of the day, the finals early. And the late games, Seattle still leads by 3. Jets commanding. Philadelphia also apparently on its way to victory.
Philadelphia is really getting a lot of momentum going.
Moreno to Edmonds, that's the first touchdown catch of the year for the tight end, only his 4th of the season to tie it at 13. And plenty of time for Chicago, 1:51 left. And you'll recall how well they moved the ball on the opening drive of this second half. Of course, they took 11 minutes to get a field goal out of it. And they drove at the end of the first half for a field goal in just about this amount of time. That's what they need to win it. Stoyanovich, pretty good kick into the wind to Gentry at the 10. And hit at the 25-yard line.
Well, under the circumstances, that's good kick coverage and good field position for Miami. Because Stoyanovich on the kick before this, the ball landed about the 15-yard line. So they did a pretty decent job with this wind of bottling up Chicago.
And Harbaugh, as he ducks into the huddle, has 2 wild cards left, 2 timeouts left, 1:47 to go. As the Bears, in search of their 10th win of the year, their 6th in a row, need to drive some 55 yards or so to get into field goal position. They do have the wind at the back.
Harbaugh should have plenty of time with a 3-man rush. He doesn't.
Short pass and the tackle at the 32-yard line. Oh, they say incomplete now. It was not held by Wendell Davis.
In this particular case, just 3 men will be rushing. Now this pass rush, believe it or not, is going to almost get there, but just 3 people across that front, and then everyone else is playing man-to-man defense on receivers with 3 deep zone people back here. So it's good defense, but Harbaugh should have much more time to throw the ball.
Bestie Jackson made the defensive play, 2nd and 10, and the give to Anderson. And coming up is Louis Oliver to make a solid tackle for a loss. Oliver, who in his spare time manages a female vocal group, 3 times Love, and he said they got a hit irresistible. Well, that's kind of his feeling when he sees a man in the open field, a tough tackler.
He is a big hitter, big athlete.
3rd and 10. Harbaugh wide open. It's Davis struggling, and he may have gotten the first down with that 2nd effort. They had him stopped at the 34. He lurches to the 35, and I think that's good enough for a first down. They stopped the clock perhaps for a measurement. Good.
What an effort. What an effort. Once that ball is caught, he's down. But he just stretches his... Now, nice job between zone defense. He should be tackled there. There's some hesitation right there, right at the end of the play. And Bestie Jackson doesn't quite get there to make the big stop.
It was Magruder who hit him first, 3 yards shy of the first down, and Jackson unable to follow up. So first down, Chicago. 47 seconds left. Harbaugh a little deeper. Complete to Gentry at the 48-yard line. 37 seconds, and there's a timeout.
Again, right between zone defenders, and Harbaugh had to throw that ball about 40 yards to get it there. Now you'll see the set down right there by Gentry, right between those zone defenders, and there's the ball. Now that's excellent passing, and a fine read by Gentry against that zone defense.
42, Chris Green, the rookie from Illinois, just fingertips away from deflecting it. Kevin Butler, who may play the key role in the Bears' regulation play with an opportunity at a field goal, has kicked a 50-yarder this season, and his career long is 52, but he is kicking with a sore right hip. Says it doesn't bother him so much in field goals, but it does affect his kicking off. This is Dick Enberg with Bill Walsh, Soldier Field in Chicago. We welcome those of you who have been watching Seattle and Denver. We're in the final seconds here at Soldier Field, a tie game. The Bears trying to drive into field goal range. Harbaugh hit from behind and throws it away. Neil Anderson was close enough.
Amazingly, Miami's getting there with a 3-man rush, and then possibly a linebacker who's reading his back if he blocks 3 rushes. But they're getting some heat on Harbaugh. And this defense will hold up if they can do that. 3 men rushing, getting heat on a quarterback.
Wind chill factor here in Chicago, right about 0 now. The temperature in the mid-20s, dropping to 15 tonight. 33 seconds left. The Bears have 1 timeout remaining. They've led throughout until a bad snap on a punt gave Miami the ball at the Bears 4. Miami has just scored to tie it up at 13. That's Anderson trying to get out of bounds. He doesn't at the 41 of Miami. And the Bears have to hurry. 21 seconds. They have 1 timeout left. Harbaugh probably just ground this one. Yes. That stops the clock 14 seconds. They need to get the ball, I would think, Bill, even with the wind at their back, to about the 30 to give Butler a reasonable chance at a field goal.
That would be a tough kick, even to 30. That's 47-yard field goal. I'd say the 25-ish would give him a chance.
And they have the Bears probably 2 plays in which to do it.
The wind is not a major factor right this second. It seems to have died down substantially. So if he can get the ball, if he can kick that ball anywhere from 42 to 44-yard field goal, they've got an excellent chance.
4 wide receivers. They are broken up and almost intercepted by Magruder. Good timing by Scooter Magruder as they had the receiver on this side double team.
Now they're playing the ball in the air. Now watch Magruder going up for that ball.
Wendell Davis drawing double coverage.
Or in this position, the zone defenders have to be ready to fly to the ball when it's in the air.
9 seconds to go here, Bill. So if the Bears complete a pass, those receivers have to call time immediately.
And the receiver cannot run laterally with the ball. It'll run the clock out.
Harbaugh to Waddle. Who else at the 32? And there's the timeout call with 4 seconds. So Waddle gives Butler and the Bears a chance. It'll be a long try, about 49 yards.
Well, this would be a marvelous kick if he could make it in these weather conditions.
The Bears at this stage coming into this week's play with the second best record in the NFC since they are 10-2. New Orleans 10-2, but they beat New Orleans. And this would be both at 9-2. This would be for 10-2. And for Butler, a 50-yard attempt. That would match his longest. There is a win from his back.
Miami cannot be offside. Now, that would be disastrous if they were to move and give him 5 extra yards.
This for the game. High enough. Not long enough. It falls in the end zone, and we go to overtime.
Well, we knew he needed to get about to the 25. He was 5 yards short. Just couldn't quite get it done in these weather conditions.
And the fact that he isn't 100%.
And that ball goes heavy through the snow. I mean, you're not going to get near the distance.
So Butler, very prominent in the course of this game. He kicked one from 32 at the end of the first half, a short one from 19 in the third quarter. That gave the Bears a 13-3 lead, and then missed on a 24-yard field goal in the fourth quarter when the snap on a short chance was dropped by Harbaugh, who was spotting it. And now a 50-yard hope, but while it's straight, lands short. And you see, trying to keep loose, he stayed with that jacket and trousers on as long as he could to try to keep warm. And now the coin toss to see who gets possession first in the overtime. Miami.
You know, by the way, if Butler has a problem with that leg, McMichael is the extra field goal guy, and we watched him, everybody was cheering. He made about a 15 or 20-yarder in practice, but boy, would Butler be missed.
We'll return to Soldier Field after these words from your local station.
Tonight, join Doug Stone, Clint Black, KT Osmond, Louis Anderson, Kenny Rogers, and us, Alabama, for Hot Country Nights on NBC tonight.
Carol Sheridan, age 46, is off to college.
See what your dad gave me.
At Franklin First Federal, we met the Sheridans when Julie was in school.
This is for me.
And we've helped Julie's money grow ever since. So, when Julie decided on a gift to help her mom,
I can't take this.
it made us feel pretty good about what we do.
Would you help me go to school? That was different. You really wanted to help. Yes. Yes, we did.
If you think a muffler is something you just stick under your car, think again. The wrong one can really hurt your engine performance and fuel economy. And we know. We've been engineering, building, and installing mufflers for 35 years. When you get a muffler here, it's Midas quality. Installed by Midas-trained experts and guaranteed for as long as you own your car. All at a great price. Nobody beats Midas. Nobody.
Right now, at your participating local Midas dealer, receive 20% off all exhaust service.
Why are some truckers turning our highways into graveyards? A special report, Our Deadly Highways, beginning Monday on Eyewitness News at 6.
Joe Amato in the Drive to the Top, Thanksgiving Day on WBRE TV 28.
So to overtime. One sudden death period. It's been a tough day on the division leaders. Washington has lost. Buffalo has lost. Denver and Houston have lost. And Chicago now tied. To the 35-yard line goes Tony Page. As we look at the rest of the scores on our 10-minute ticker. New England surprising Buffalo, and Pittsburgh getting ready for Dallas on Thanksgiving Day with a must-win against the Oilers. Giants are now 7-5. The Lions win their 8th of the year. Packers' 3rd victory.
That's as big a victory Pittsburgh's had in a long time.
Seattle's still in the playoff picture, as are the Jets and Philadelphia. From the 35, Marino. 4 yards. Higgs replacing Sammy Smith, who fumbled again today inside the 5-yard line. We go to New York.
Dick, here's a look not seen on the game telecast earlier. It's from our affiliate in Tampa, WFLA. The injury to Jeff Hostetler, driven into the turf by the Buccaneer linebacker Broderick Thomas. Here's the word: injury to his lower back, fractured transverse process, no neurological damage. Phil Simms finished the game, quarterbacked them to victory, and obviously Simms will start next week and probably beyond. Dick?
All right, Bob, it's Marino gunning to the sidelines, complete to Clayton. Well, they were in tune that time. It's been dysrhythmic much of this game, but on that occasion, Marino and Clayton on target and a first down just shy of midfield.
Again, pressure on Marino, and the ball was thrown late, and that could have been disastrous because Marino had to hold it and move and then throw that out pattern, and that's very, very scary, but he got away with it with that arm. This field position is so important at this point. At the 50-yard line, Miami has a distinct advantage.
Higgs, the little guy from Kentucky, is to the Bears' 48-yard line, maybe the 47. Pete Stoyanovich, he has long range. In fact, has kicked one, well, remember in the playoffs, beat Kansas City last year with a 58-yarder. Has kicked a 59-yard field goal, but not in these conditions going in the direction Miami is going, into the wind from the north-northwest.
Well, you have to give Stoyanovich the edge over Butler in this situation. Butler with a hip problem, Stoyanovich with the real strong, deep leg. This field position is really a factor now, because if they do have to punt, Chicago's going to be bottled up.
2nd and 6. Good protection for Marino. Now it breaks down, and Perry, the refrigerator, with Dent assisting on the sack.
Well, that was a smart move by Marino. He wasn't about to unload that ball and get into trouble. Again, they've got field position. They don't want to lose it. So now Marino is going to protect that ball, go up inside, not going to take any chances.
For the Bears, this is their second overtime game this year. Remember that incredible Monday night win against the Jets, when it seemed the Jets had won 2 different times, and Chicago escaped and eventually pulled out a dramatic victory. Shotgun on 3rd and 7. Over the middle, complete to Clayton, and he has a first down at the 36-yard line. And what a passing team that is, Marino and Clayton.
A beautiful pass inside, easy to catch, and Richard Dent had a chance at Dan Marino. On the outside, you'll see him really have a chance, and just couldn't quite get there.
We were asking Clayton and Marino about their very first game, as you see him connect again, and Dent a little late on that hit, but not vicious enough to draw a flag. At the 36, first down. 11:57 left in overtime. Marino going deep. And both Clayton and the man covering him, Wolford. That ball, a flag is down at the 6-yard line, and a miracle play as Clayton entangled with the defender. A 30-yard play. Interference is the call against Wolford. Well,
I guess so.
He was trying to stop, and he...
Defensive pass interference, number 21. The pass was complete. Penalty declined.
But the fact that Clayton caught the ball. He goes down.
Is he on his back when he catches it?
Look at the concentration, a man on him, and he still catches that ball. Amazing.
Amazing. What a catch. What concentration.
And Marino, who has not been all that happy with Mark Clayton's routes during the course of the game, cheers that one. It's 1st and goal outside the 5.
That's as big a catch as Miami's had in years. Now just get the ball in the middle of the field. There it is.
There it is. Marino just moves between the hash marks, and the call is in for number 10, Pete Stoyanovich. They've already dialed his number, and now for a field goal try that could win it for Miami. Remember, the Jets had that opportunity in that overtime game against Chicago and misfired. Pat Leahy could not connect. Stoyanovich today has been successful from 35 and from 22 yards.
What a victory if they can get it over a big name, big winning team, because all he's been able to do all year is beat the weaker teams. This could do it.
27 yards for victory. Miami wins 16-13. Don Shula's 305th career victory. He looks for his counterpart, Mike Ditka. Ditka, undoubtedly not in the mood to shake too many hands as he let one get away. His Bears had it 13-3 late in the third quarter, but Miami taking advantage of a bad snap on a punt. And then a miracle catch by Clayton Stoyanovich. No doubt about it. Right down midway. First victory by the Miami Dolphins over a winning team this year. And 61-year-old Don Shula, rarely that emotional. A win he needed to give his team hope of a playoff.
In a cold weather season, cold weather year.
Ditka with a wave saying, hey, that was a heck of a win for the Dolphins, who figured to have everything against them in freezing weather, and a team that had only beaten New England twice, Indianapolis twice, and Green Bay, 5 teams that are far from winning records. This is the victory that Shula had been talking about. We need to beat a quality team. They do it on the road in icy conditions, and our camcorder play of the game. The replay shows Stoyanovich. He had it all away, not much more than an extra point. Well, for the Miami Dolphins, who is the player? I got Mark Clayton, even though there was
to get it. No matter
that catch.
What happened otherwise, he has to get that.
Our Avis player of the game is Mark Clayton, the veteran receiver of the Miami Dolphins. He had 6 catches today, 92 yards, and an amazing, a miracle catch that set up the winning field goal in overtime. So 16-13, Miami upset Chicago. What an incredible day. All the leaders of divisions have lost today, 5 for 5, and New Orleans plays Atlanta tonight. Now, please stay tuned. We'll have all the scores and highlights with Bob Costas and the crew in New York.